Okay, welcome to our next episode of Philocast in the context of moral psychology workshop we had yesterday here in Munich. Could you tell us who you are and what your field of research is in this context?
I'm Maria Mammen. I'm a postdoc here at the LMU in the Department for Psychology, and I'm a developmental psychologist. So I work with children and mostly preschoolers. So I look at how children develop a sense of morality. When they start understanding what's right and what's wrong, and how they exchange about these things. So how they communicate when they're faced with moral judgment, for example. How do they make their decision of what's right and wrong? How they communicate with others about these things. So that's my main topic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and did you give a talk? Did you give a talk yesterday here in Munich?
No, I didn't.
Will you give a talk?
No.
Okay, good, no problem. I was just asking, what could be the core message or the take-home message of your research?
Okay, so the take-home message for my research is that I think that when we want to know how people arrive at a moral judgment, so the judgment whether something is right or wrong, it's not enough to simply ask them, so do you think that helping is good or bad? But that in research, it's important to get a sense of how people arrive at their judgments. Yeah. So when you see a story about somebody helping someone and you ask then, what do you think about this story, to actually get people to talk to each other, to exchange their ideas of why they think something is right and something is wrong. And so I think that in the interaction with others, it's actually where we use our moral skills, in a sense, or moral reasoning best than just merely pointing at what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, could it be that that the reason for that is in a discussion you feel more included in the situation than if you just answer one question on a paper sheet?
Yeah, I think so. So I think that when you have an interlocutor, there is some necessity to actually express your reasons for your judgments. And usually, I mean, when it comes to whether helping is right or wrong, we don't usually disagree. But as soon as you're faced with some sort of moral dilemma where you could either help or do something else that is morally relevant, so for example, keeping a promise to do something, and you're distracted by somebody who needs help, then what is the right thing to do in this situation? Yeah. And so when I just make up my own mind and then I say, oh, I think he should help, that doesn't help. But if I have an interlocutor, there is a necessity to actually express why I think, oh, well, I think keeping promises is important too, but on the other hand, there is somebody in need, he needs helping. So I express my line of thought, if you want to say, and my reasons for arriving at that judgment that actually, I think, especially when you work with kids, makes it easier also to understand how they think about things. Because with kids, you can also have it that they just think helping is more important because the color of the dress is nicer of that person who needs help. These reasons can be there as well, and we won't know if we only look at judgments and not the decision-making processes. Yeah.
Are you working mainly you're mainly working in psychology, I guess, right? Did you had in your background? Did you had also other disciplines you could have a look in? Are you influenced by other things also?
So I study linguistics, and then I did my PhD at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, and that was a really people were coming from really different backgrounds. So we had, of course, a lot of psychology people, but also there were philosophers and biologists and educational scientists. And so there was a really interdisciplinary bunch. And I also attended some of the conferences of the Society for Philosophy and Psychology. So always kind of being in the exchange with philosophers, I I liked, and also during my undergraduate studies, I read some of the philosophy of language papers, and I think that it is really, for me at least, it's really important to be informed also by other fields to actually get an idea of what are relevant questions in my field and what are current or also old ideas about how to approach things. And so I think that this, at least having in mind that there are other disciplines than psychology that
it's
can
helpful.
Yeah, it's really helpful for your own research as well.
What's the aim of your future studies?
So, like I said, I really work on the interactive process of moral reasoning, and I'm really interested in how children learn about what's right and wrong and how to make sense of their world. And I think that a lot of these things happen in the interactions with parents. And so I already did a little study on mother-child interaction, and now I want to scale that up a little bit. And also because I think parenting is highly influenced by culture, gonna take that cross-culturally and also look at other influences. Like cross-culturally doesn't necessarily mean you have to go abroad, but it could also mean just looking at different contexts, different cultural milieus, if you want to say it like that. So because in psychology, the sample you have is really often biased towards like highly educated, and in Germany also Western families. And I think it makes sense to, especially in this domain, where it's about the values you have and you want to give to your kids, to really broaden the horizon and actually look at all different families and how they transmit their values, what kind of values they have, and all these kind of things I'm really interested in.
That sounds really interesting. And the main question would be how moral judgment is developed in education by parents?
Yeah, in a sense. So how do parents interact with their kids when it comes to topics of morality?
Okay.
Basically whether they, for example, you can have parents who are really more egalitarian and say like, what do you think about the situation? Like this dilemma thing. Yeah. So talking to their 4-year-old or 6-year-old. So what do you think? How do you make sense of that? And trying to build it from the kid's perspective and really incorporating that. And you might have parents who think, well, I'm actually the one who knows what's right and wrong, so I'm going to teach my child how to do it.
Of course, yeah.
And so this is really a different interaction type, right? And I want to see the differences and maybe also where these differences come from and how these differences then translates into children's behavior, actual moral behavior.
Yeah. Do you have a what we should do sentence, or which could be the like one conclusion of your research? Yeah, like.
Okay, so
a normative. Do you have a normative sentence for us, or a guess how we should build moral judgments?
In interaction.
Okay. Yeah. You can specify my question more if you like.
So I think that as an adult, you're really used to, or like at least also as an educated adult, as a student, and you're used to arriving at judgments when you're not sure what to do, to actually try to find reasons, pros and cons, have pros and cons lists. But that is also an inner dialogue, like you think about what reasons can I present for that and for that. And oftentimes when you just exchange these ideas and you get different perspectives, then I think the judgments about what's the right thing to do. And I think we all know everyday moral dilemmas, whether I should cancel on a friend for that other thing I wanted to do or something like that. Yeah. And if you either think about somebody else you can talk to, or actually talk to somebody arriving at moral judgment, that actually is something I think is helpful.
Okay. So cultivating your inner dialogue to maybe grow in your moral judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. And please subscribe if you like. And the other links for the moral psychology videos are in the description. Thank you for watching. And until next time, it's Philocast. Bye-bye.